And we're consistently reminded, especially here on YouTube, of the destructive nature of religion, aren't we? For all the problems that you might have with God, there are far more problems with the death of God in our society. Well, it's not possible to prove or to disprove God exists. What is provable is to look at what happens when people stop believing in God. Without God, there is no good and evil. There's only subjective opinion, which we then label as good and evil. There is actually no good and evil. Unless there's a moral authority that transcends human beings, a higher judge. What you call beautiful, I call ugly. What you call good, I call evil. Whatever. It's a bunch of ping pong of opinion. Means nothing. And no matter how the atheist spins that, that is a fact. Two, without God, there's no objective meaning whatsoever. If we're all merely random creations of natural selection, we're all merely random creations of natural selection. Three, life is ultimately a tragic fare, a tragic tale if there is no God. We live, we suffer, we die, some horribly, some prematurely. If there's no God, there's no difference between humans and animals. Evolution confers no human right. Molecules confer no human rights. Energy has no moral concern. Rights depend on a moral code and a right giver. Which God? The secular, unwise fool will holler. I will tell you which God. The God of Israel. The God of the American founders. endowed all with certain unalienable rights.
You have no idea the kind of PMs I get. If it is on a Dawkins and Harris website, it is literally cut and pasted into a PM to me. Peer review is nothing but an incestuous high five convention, okay? When they literally lock the door from inside as far as the intellectual arena of ideas, the peer review, it seems to lose a little bit of credibility. It is no surprise to any thinking person that prudent scientists, understandably, in this harsh arena, swallow their doubts about the ruling ideology. That is not some big shocker. With due respect, Tultan, you guys read the same authors. You guys talk to the same people. You're constantly regurgitating the same things. So when anybody, take me for example, speaks differently, you guys just immediately act like this is the craziest thing you've ever heard. Perhaps the fact that no one you speak to casts doubts on this thing, perhaps that's the problem. You know what else was peer-reviewed, Tultan? The findings that the Earth was flat was also peer-reviewed. Peer review to me is not the end all. I know it is to you. I know it is, but you have to understand where I'm coming from. You see, Tultan, what I realized a long time ago is that if you control the definition of the terms being used, you don't actually have to defend the merits of your argument. And this is exactly what Darwinists, evolutionists, secularists, atheists have mastered.
Ladies and gentlemen, am I totally screwed or what?
It's sort of like necessity is the mother of all invention. You guys had to do this when you started seeing that there were gaping, huge, canyon-like holes in your theory. Stage left neo-Darwinian evolution, a philosophical, not a scientific argument, lacking so much empirical evidence that J Gould of Harvard actually said, this theory is dead. Now, how do you get this proclaimed in textbooks and in the media as unchangeable fact? So you start by controlling words. You start by using linguistics. This is a time-tested strategy for people who want to pump BS into the minds. Now, we'll just start simple. We'll say anybody who has anything else to say, scientific or otherwise, about this theory, they're the enemy of science. It's not a person with an intellectual question, a scientific question. No. They hate science. They just want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Now, this is a major theme in Darwinist propaganda. You just label anybody who has any questions about the status quo as somebody who's just preserving religious prejudice. That's it. Now, Darwinist evolution is now equal sign naturalistic evolution, which means it's a closed scientific system where only, natural causes and effects can be studied. Nothing outside of that closed system. Now, human beings, they're far more complex than, say, even an airplane or a computer, and certainly we know these things don't just evolve or pop out of nowhere. Now, I've read this. Dawkins calls this the blind watchmaker, this sort of purposefulness, materialist, designing force in the universe. The famous example are these dark moths. Now, certainly this explains that natural selection can do something. It doesn't explain how you create something that doesn't already exist. And so to just claim refuted doesn't whitewash the board. It does say, I want the question to be whitewashed, but doesn't actually answer any of these pesky little questions that just keep veering their head. What scientific naturalism does is to transform the limitations on science onto the limitations on reality. That is the ultimate goal. It's really possible to study scientifically organisms under the premise that they were all created by God. In the same way that you can study airplanes or you can look at pieces of art with the premise that they were all intelligently designed. That's completely possible. I know you've been told differently, but it is definitely possible.